Hello guys, and thanks for checking out my DPS stock guide. Real quick, don't forget to smash those like, comment, subscribe buttons. Stay on top of the releases. I'm going to go over DPS spec, renown, gear, and the general build today. I will try to cover suggestions for gear progression as well as for best in slot. So we're going to start with the Path of Torture. We're just going to work our way from the bottom up. The first ability, Murderous Intent Tactic. Pretty self-explanatory. Increases your crit, increases your parry. This is a staple to the build. Expect to always have this one slotted. Next is Sane Ascension. This one really adds some nice pressure to your rotation. However, this is something that you can skip if you're lower level, lower renown, and you don't have your maximum mastery points yet. I guess it is worth noting, however, when the ability rework comes out, this will be tied to the DoK's heal debuff though, so this will become a higher priority when that goes live. Next is Bloodthirst. This is kind of a niche tactic. I do run it, however I try to be paired with a Chosen and preferably a Sorc with the Spirit debuff tactic in order to get the maximum amount out of this damage boost here. Otherwise, I usually run something a little bit different. Next is Drowning in Blood. This is also kind of a staple to the DPS stock. I use it in kind of one of two ways. The first is using it right at the start of a fight, on ink, just to help get extra damage and extra pressure out. I'll tie it in with the silence on a healer if I'm able to get on a healer immediately, and then pop Drowning in Blood and try to do as much damage as I can with the extra armor ignore, in hopes that I can kill them before they get a chance to detaunt me. The other way to use this is in an AoE fight. If you want to pop this, it removes the cooldown on Essence Blast, so it allows you to spam your AoE with no cooldown, for that 20 seconds. So it can be a really great AoE pressure. And also keep in mind that it will also reduce the cooldown of Execute from 10 seconds to 5 seconds, giving your kill window kind of double the effect. Next is Curse of Cain. This is also kind of a staple to the build in my opinion. In group play, 6-man play, scenario play, I feel this is kind of the main reason to even run DPS stock. It is nearly impossible for Order to counter the skill debuff, so it really makes you the king of pressure at that point. And I do also run this tactic when I'm solo, mostly just because I run into a lot of DPS AMs that self-heal, or you get a lot of 1vx fights where healer's involved, and having a heal debuff is just huge for winning those fights as DoK. Next is Execute. Pretty self-explanatory. Use this on cooldown. This will get you the most kills. The remaining points we're going to put in Sacrifice. First is Pillage Essence. This ability alone hits really hard, but it also can have the potential to regenerate up to 90 Essence in a single global, which can be pretty clutch in fights where you're Essence starved. You're having to use Rend Soul on cooldown, Devour Essence on cooldown, maybe you're spamming your Hot, your Cleanse. This becomes a real important part of your rotation. And then finally, Devour Essence. Again, there's kind of two ways I use this one. One is I pop it, as I first hit a target. It gives a little extra damage out. You can also use this to try and heal friendlies, since it does do a life tap based on its damage. Just two things to note there. One is this ability can be blocked and parried, so it kind of loses a little bit of its potency versus melees and tanks. And the second is this will break your AoE detaunt. So if you're 1vx, you kind of have to be very careful on what you choose to hit. Generally, you want the AoE detaunt effect. Alright, next, I will go over the core tactics that I run. Divine Fury, obviously this one's pretty self-explanatory. There's really no version of DPS stock where you won't run this. And then the majority of the time, I'm running Kane's Blessing. You critically hit a lot, so this is basically up the entire time you're in a fight. More auto attacks means more potentials to crit. More crits mean more heal debuffs, more damage. So this is the one I like, but you can pick and choose your fourth tactic really based on your personal preference. Next, renown abilities. So this is a realm rank 70, so this is maximum realm points to spend. Solo, duo, small man. I'm running futile strikes 3. I'm running maximum parry, and then I split the remaining points between weapon skill and strength. If you're below realm rank 70 or you're not full bisque geared yet, you may need to consider taking some points out of the passive stats and putting it into crit. Crit is very important for DoK, for the heal debuff, and for your overall damage output. Futile Strikes 3, I really like running it with the weapon skill limit and anti-crit. I get somewhere around negative 7% chance to be crit. I feel like that's a pretty good spot to be for solo play. You have to be able to survive knockdowns from things like White Lions and Witch Hunters, 1vx fights where tanks are going to knock you down. You have to be able to survive that. Having just a bit extra anti-crit seems to be the formula that's worked best for me. And then we'll hit the gear real quick. So first I'm just going to go over Bisque. This is my personal build. This is what I like to run. I know a lot of other DPS docs have had success with alternative builds, but I think this one's pretty straightforward and works pretty well. Every single armor and weapon piece I have will either have melee crit or parry on it. Those are the two primary stats outside of strength and wounds. So we have Sovereign Helm with melee crit, Warlord Shoulders with melee crit, Warlord Back again with melee crit, Warlord Chest with parry, Warlord Gloves with crit, Sovereign Belt with parry, Sovereign Boots with parry, and then to fill out the bonus, we run the Warlord Jewel with Armor Pen. So the build here is 5 Warlord, 3 Sovereign. I really like the Armor Pen and the melee power given to Warlord, especially if you're running with a Chosen or a Blackguard or a Zealot or anything that can buff your strength. It's also worth mentioning that Consume Strength will give you 68 strength buff as well. So even though I'm running weapon skill instead of strength, my strength is still just below 1k or just over 1k depending on which buff is taking effect. So melee power really helps pump that. Jewelry, I run Genesis Warrior 2-piece. I still like the 2-piece Genesis over the Annulus rings. I like the strength bonus, I like the melee power, I even like the initiative to be honest. And I like the 3% parry. All of those are very big stats for a DPS doc. Sentinel Ring, even though we're not running 2-piece, is still important for the 6% parry talisman you can put in it. If you're focused on 6-man and scenarios, you can potentially slot crit in this if you really want. But 9 out of 10 times I'm running parry. And then the Warlord Jewel, of course. Gear progression, if you're a fresh 40 or you're starting out, just getting your doc going, or maybe you're not quite full bisque yet and you're trying to figure out how to make it work, my suggestion is going to be 5-piece Bloodlord. So that's going to give you weapon skill, wounds, pretty significant crit proc, and strength. I would run 2-piece Sentinel to give you a strength bonus and then let you keep the Sentinel ring. And then 2-piece Veilwalker for an additional wounds bonus. And not to mention the gloves and the ring are also just very strong individual pieces. All this is from PvE. Bloodlord is from Bastion Stairs. Sentinel is from BBBE. And the Hunter's Veil, or the Veilwalker stuff is from the Hunter's Veil dungeon. And then weapons, I'm almost always running Fortress and the Renown Rank 61 scenario weapon. I used to run Bloodlord, but it gives a pretty significant armor debuff to docs. and not a very big damage increase at all. So it really was not worth running. But I like this for it's got a good damage proc, and then the melee power and the AP from SC. You can obviously run the Subjugator version of this if you're not realm rank 66 or you're trying to save your crest. The Subjugator will work. You can run the Renown 45 version or just slot Bloodlord until you can upgrade. Early on, the Bloodlord weapon is definitely not bad. It has the right stats for you, so if that's what you have to run, there's no shame in that one bit. So I hope this kind of helped you guys out with some build ideas. I guess real quick as well, if you didn't catch it, I do run all strength talismans in my gear as well, and I would even in Bloodlord. Yeah, I hope this helps you guys out with getting your DPS DoK going. You know, hopefully this helps improve your solo play, your group play. And if you have any other questions or concerns, feel free to comment below or message me in game or on Discord. And if you guys would like to see additional videos going into more detail with rotations and add-ons and the little tips and tricks and gimmicks I use, feel free to let me know down below, and we'll see about getting that pumped out for you guys as well. Best of luck, and hopefully see you guys out there with some fun fights.